Good morning and welcome everyone to Northwest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Chris Bornstead and Kyle Torgeson in studio today. We will have a special guest on here in just a moment, Ellen Palestrant. For those of you who'd like to jump on Google and check out Ellen, a lot of great content there that she's published over the years. So let's start off with a weather report. Kyle, what do we have coming up in the weather?
We have rain coming up, but for today, it's going to be a high of 73 and a low of 42. It's going to be partly cloudy. It's going to be partly cloudy all the way up to Tuesday where the rain's coming back.
All right, so if you got to get your outdoor work done, get it done by Monday night.
Better do it now.
That's right. Well, we are very honored and pleased to have Ellen Palestrant on the line. I got a chance to interview Ellen a few years ago on the Business Forum show, and it's a pleasure to have you back, Ellen. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and I'm really pleased to be back.
So start off by sharing with people a little bit about yourself and kind of your passion in being an author and all the creative stuff that you do, Ellen. Over the time that I have known you, and just looking at the works that you have out there, even the book that we're going to talk about, Conversations About Creativity, you've kind of established yourself as this queen of creativity in your space. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I love being a queen of creativity, but it's something that comes naturally to me. I've always created. Ever since I've been a child, there've been those creative impulses, and it's translated into my writing, about 13 books, and also my painting, and also film. Why do I do so much? Because creativity connects. One thing leads to another, and then another. And so my website is ellenpalestrant.com, and on it you'll find a lot of my blogs, different articles about creativity, and also there's a newsletter, Glimpses, that comes out weekly, so you can subscribe to that if anybody wants to. But I talk about creativity all the time, and I think it's important to actually do it if you're going to talk about it. So it's not something abstract and academic, it's real. And so by understanding my own creative processes as much as I can then understand those of others.
Exactly. Well, would you share a little inspiration for a lot of our younger generation, people that are growing up and wanting to seek creative venues for the things that they like to do? And it's possible to make a living and a life out of exploring your creativity as you have. Share some inspiration for that generation or the group of people that are interested in doing that themselves.
I think it's enormously important to do something for yourself, but often to have another job going so that you're not dependent on it, but you keep on doing it in between. And that's when I used to explore creativity with my students at college, it was one of the things I said, don't depend on it, but then one day you might be able to. It might be the thing you do. So because you have a full-time job and have very little time to do anything else, find that little bit of time. I could teach, and that was always something I could fall back on. But in the meantime, I've continued to write, and I do now a lot of painting. And you can't wait until you have that ideal place to work in. It can be anywhere. What is really important is what's inside your head, exploring it and finding a home for it.
You know, when you mentioned that one idea just seems to lead to another, it's quite interesting because sometimes in the evening, my wife and I a lot of times close our day out having conversations about things about the day or around the family or whatever. And quite often, I seem to somehow gravitate towards these moments of comedy that we encounter in our lives every day. And I just get started and all of a sudden I'm building a story out of it and one thing leads to another. And at some point she goes, you just have to stop because you're never going to quit. But I totally get what you mentioned when you say that just one idea can just lead to another. When you have this kind of creative makeup to begin with, I find like our evening conversations even to be one of my outlets for creativity.
Absolutely, and humor, the way you just discussed it, because that is taking chances.
Oh, no doubt about it, it is.
You know, you just throw something out there and maybe the other person will get it. maybe they won't.
Can we talk about filmmaking a little bit? You've done a lot of different things with your creativity. You have some successful films out there. Share that.
Well, actually, there's one that I've done a number of movies, and I originally am from South Africa, but I've been in this country for many, many years. And so I was in the television industry and a script writer, and I did a lot of, 8-part series and so on. And then I got back, I decided to just write.
Mm-hmm.
And writing led to painting, and then all of that led to a DVD I did on my World of Glimpse, which is, I think, a 19-minute DVD available on Amazon. But then I was asked to do a movie called Sammy the Journey, became called Sammy the Journey, and I did that together with another filmmaker, Eric Koch. And this is a true story about one of the youngest survivors of the Holocaust who hid in a concentration camp between the ages of 7 and 9.5, and if he had been found, he would have been killed. So the story is pretty amazing, and it became because he emerged positive, and he also emerged as a creative individual who was able to rebuild his life in a strange land. He came to America at the age of 12 as an orphan, not knowing where he was going to be. So I found that incredibly inspiring, and it's been in many film festivals, international ones. It's had standing ovations. And now, Kevin, we're gonna, because of all the problems these days, dangerous times, we feel that this is a movie that we should give out free. So I will send you a connection to it, and if anybody wants to, they can download it, they can do what they want. It's absolutely free, because I think there's important lessons in it.
Oh, I would love to have that, and love to share that with our audiences. What really inspires me with stories like that, Ellen, is that it's proof that we can be and we can do whatever we want to do if we just set our mind to do it and go get it done. One of the things that I am just a little disheartened from sometimes is the generations that are growing up, how easily they give up, and most importantly, how easily they give up on themselves. And you share a situation like that, that somebody in probably the most difficult of situations makes something of themselves despite the circumstances. I think that's just totally awesome.
It is, and I think you're going to find this very, very moving, and thousands of school children have seen it. So, and they, from difficult circumstances. So I think that it's going to be an important movie for everybody, and young people who need to rethink their lives and realize that they can overcome the worst of circumstances. They just have to. There's different ways of doing it. There isn't only one way, but there are good ways.
You mentioned something just moments ago when you talked about those who are seeking creative outlets or creative careers that you recommend. They get another job and then you use their time to pursue those creative outlets. I imagine you had to do the same thing yourself in getting to where you're at today. Are there any projects in particular that you did, or any of the books that you wrote in particular that you're most proud of, that you saw to its fruition and got it published, got it done, despite the obstacles you may have faced working on them?
Yes. I mean, I'm proud of all my books. I want to say that. But The World of Glimpse took me years and years and years to do. And as it evolved, I evolved. And it became better and better as a result. It was something I had to explore. And this is a fantasy, but really, in a way, and in a humorous way, it deals with reality and the realities of today. Positivity versus negativity. Mm-hmm. And so I had these characters, and it's a book for all ages. And you can read it at any level. So this is something that I saw through. I painted the book because I did not like what was being presented to me. I realized I had to become my own production company so I could do it my way. and I think that is really important, because with technology today and with communications, there are so many opportunities. And it was one idea that I could never leave alone, and that was the world of glimpse, because I saw the potential of it. So now I've put it out in black and white, and because it's more reasonable in terms of buying it. All the books are available on Amazon, and I also have a series of creativity books, all available on Amazon as well. One of them being Conversations About Creativity, and that's another book I'm very proud of, because I enter the world of other creators, and it isn't. I show that creativity doesn't belong to only one group of people, the artists or the writers or the musicians. There's so many different ways of being creative. So I even have a paleobotanist who studies 250,000-year-old rock formations. And that is his fascination. And it's something he cannot let alone, and he's been doing it for years and years. I have another group of people, they're actually two people, who started a thing in Arizona, they're called salons, where you have all people, how can I put it, curious-minded people coming to hear about all sorts of things. It could be the arts, it could be music, but it can also be science, and even Nobel Prize winners present. And I go regularly because I learn about all sorts of things, and they connect. And they might give me ideas, they might not. But I'm not going to be quizzed on it, so I learn about it. And that's called the Spirit of the Senses. Here in Phoenix, it's been going for 35 years. So I interviewed them. And there are many such people, within that book. And I feel young people can learn from that because they can see the journeys of others. It's not only my own journey that's important, but the journey of all people who embark on careers that could seem difficult in the beginning, but the idea is bigger than the path. And so they do not think about all the obstacles. They keep moving on.
They do not think about all the obstacles. Man, people need to think about that for a moment. That is one loaded comment, Ellen, but it speaks volumes about who you are as a individual, because that totally resonates with me as well. I've had some people tell me sometimes that, are you in denial of the truths of the difficulties of life? And I was like, not at all. not at all. I just choose not to focus on the negativity, choose not to focus on the so-called insurmountable challenges. And I've even shared with people that, when your mindset works like that, I give an example of jumping over a 20-foot hurdle. That, a person whose mindset does not work in that fashion will look at a 20-foot hurdle and say, there's no way that I could get over that. But other people that have been solving problems and challenges regularly in life learned how to jump over a 4-foot, and then learned how to jump over a 10-foot, and eventually learned how to jump over a 15-foot. So when they look at the 20-foot hurdle, they're like, no big deal, I just need to jump 5 more feet. Whereas...
That's right. I agree with you. And otherwise, it becomes excuses. No use trying this, no use trying that. These are bad times. Yes, they are bad times. Yes, there's an abundance of negativity. We get it, we understand it, we're worried about it. But we have to do positive things. Otherwise, we just give up. And life has just got so many other possibilities as well. And that's why I call myself a possibilityist. I see an idea or I feel an idea intuitively, and I want to explore it. And some will work and some will not. And that's okay. I'm learning.
I think about life as being like a little trough that you roll a marble down. Even the marble doesn't roll right down the middle of the trough. It bounces off the sides, but it makes its way in that direction that the trough is aimed. And I think about your goals and direction in life. If you know where you're going and you're going there purposefully, don't be disappointed that you bounce off the side of the walls and you get corrected back towards your direction from time to time, or you make mistakes. I think probably one of the most inspiring things that I learned, even with the brilliant business minds and other people that I've interviewed over the years, the first time somebody shared with me that the average business person has 7 business failures before they find the one that really makes them go. I was like, wow.
That's it. And it's a learning experience because you start off positive.
Right?
You think you are going to manage that 20-foot hurdle that you're talking about very quickly. I know that when I came to this country, I thought I'd be a success in 6 weeks. Well, I wasn't. And, and then I felt, oh my God, I failed. And then I realized, no, I haven't. There are other ways of doing it, and it's going to take a long time. But you don't think about that. And
What you learned is what you didn't know before you started the first time.
That's it. And it all takes practice. You keep doing and doing and tailoring it and working out what works and what doesn't work. And so I just find so many things are excuses because I understand how hard the roads of many people are. Tremendously difficult, tragic, all sorts of things, but everything is relative. So sometimes losing a job is not the end of the world. It might be an opportunity for something else.
You know what? 100% of the time for me throughout my life, when I've changed directions, whether it was career-wise, etc., I can say that there was always an improvement on the other side. Every time.
That's right.
Every time.
You kind of find that this is the place that you're meant to be. This is what really resonates with you. And
Exactly.
That's why I go back to your personal creativity, something that you feel a kinship for, something you really want to do very, very much, but you don't have the time. And that's reality, but you keep finding that time, whether it's at a traffic light, as long as you're watching the traffic light and you don't sort of stay there on green, you go forward, but it's always with you. You find those opportunities.
I love the analogy. So, hey, before I want to respect your time, and I really am humbled and honored that you agreed to join us here this morning on the broadcast. I would like you to like to close with this. Share with people who might be interested in publishing. You have a lot of stuff that's in paperback. You've also used Amazon Kindle. Is there any recommendations you'd give a aspiring book writer or author where they maybe should start if they want to get things in print?
Well, there are so many opportunities today, which there weren't many years ago. I always worked with traditional publishers, and that was great. But now, because, as I said, of the new technological advances and Amazon, you can do either. However, you got to do it well. And, I work with someone who is a wonderful technologist, in terms of getting the book together. I create the book. I visualize it. I visualize every page, every space between lines. It's totally... But then it's done very well. But you can work directly with Kindle and Amazon now. Kindle now does print books as well, and it's really not going to cost a lot. It's very easy to work with it. So if you have an idea that you want to explore it well, and then you never know what it might become. So, and they're more, you're not a one-idea person. A person who clings to one idea for the rest of their life is going to be very sad one day if that idea no longer works, no longer has any kind of resonance with other people. Creativity is abundant. And that's why sharing your ideas, sharing the creativity of other people is also something one can do, because you do not lead a threatened existence. There's always more.
So I have to share with you a really quick personal story before we run. I had promised myself for years that I was going to write, and I've had a lot of family members around me that have told me that, hey, you need to write. And part of it has come out of maybe some of these evening conversations around a cup of coffee or whatever, and they're just like, Kevin, you need to write some of this stuff down because you need to share it with others. So in the spring of 2015, after having interviewed many great minds, yourself being a good example of that, and just thinking about the tenacity, the consistency, and the go-getter attitude that I really noticed around some of the most successful people that I had interviewed over the years. And I realized that the difference between them and those that were still floundering out in the world were simply just the mindset. That those that had accomplished extraordinary success believed very firmly in themselves and believed very firmly that they could do what they needed to get done despite those obstacles. So I set out to write this book, and the inspiration for the title actually came out of an experience that I had in the car business. So I titled the book, "Is That the Best You Can Do?" And it to me just really captured the essence. And I thought about this because when people would go into a dealership and pursue a car deal, the first thing the customer does, no matter how much work the salesman or the staff or anybody puts into this deal, they'd get all done, and the customer go, "Is that the best you can do?" And I started wondering, why don't we ever ask ourselves that question? Why do we, when we finish a day's work, even if we've hit our goals, we never sit down and go, "Wow, Kevin, is that the best you can do?" Because the answer to the question is always no. Even for the customer who is sitting at the desk asking the salesperson, "Is that the best you can do?" I can almost bet you, it's not 100%, but I can almost bet you that in most cases, a customer went to that dealership without having researched their own credit, without having got a pre-approval on a car loan, without having researched the safety on the vehicle, without even knowing fair market pricing or any of that stuff. And so this entirely unequipped, uninformed person about a car has the audacity to sit across the desk and ask somebody else if they did the best they could do. And so
I think that's absolutely marvelous, and I love the title because people will ask themselves that question, and I think it relates so much just to my creativity as such, because I try personally to do my best. I'm self-challenging, and whether you're researching a vehicle that you want to buy, you have to challenge yourself to know as much as you possibly can about it, so you're an informed consumer. Otherwise, what are you talking about? And also, I find it's almost as if I make a contract with myself. I tell myself I have to do this, I give myself deadlines, and I meet it. And I feel I really am doing my best. And people have to realize that, because there are going to be very, very difficult times in between, where you could be stuck, where you're short of time, all sorts of things, but you keep on going and you keep on doing it. So those few words, "Are you doing your best?" is very important, a really important question to ask yourselves.
One last thing, one of the chapters is titled "Don't Should on Yourself." And it was kind of a comical statement that actually came from one of my wife's university professors, but he would share that with his music students in the classes, that "don't should on yourself." And I wrote that entire book, 50-some chapters, without using the word "should" in the entire book, except for one chapter that was titled "Don't Should on Yourself." And so for all the people that are out there listening today and hearing Ellen share the whole conversations about creativity, hey, if you're looking at creative outlets for yourself, don't keep telling yourself each day that you really should do this and you really should do that. Don't should on yourself. Get out there and get it done.
That's it. Just start. And, I'm going to leave you with a little poem that I wrote called Home, and that's in my book, I Touched a Star in My Dream Last Night. And it's called Home. And it says, "I can never leave an idea alone, have to find a home for it. If a painting isn't right, maybe there's a poem for it." And it could be something else or something else or something else. But you can find a place for it.
Absolutely. Well, a pleasure as always. We've put your website here up on the link, ellenpalestrant.com. Thanks, Ellen, for joining us, and I hope we can connect again down the road.
I hope so. Thank you, Kevin.
All right,
Enjoyed
take care.
it.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, that was Ellen Palestrant. I'll tell you what, she never disappoints. She was a incredibly interesting guest when I had her on my broadcast years ago. And what's interesting about people like her? I don't remember what her book count was when we had conversation. Probably 5 years ago was the last time I talked to her. But look at what she's done since then. Like these creative people just never stop.
They just keep going.
They keep finding, as she said in her poem, they just keep finding homes for their ideas. I hope our people in our viewing audiences, our listening audience, were inspired by hearing from Ellen, because everybody you have so many different ideas, so many different inspirations. Don't shoot on yourself. Go out there and get it done. All right, guys. What else we got on the show here today?
Well, we have a couple things. Depends on Chris. Would you like to go first?
No. You go ahead, Kyle.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about everyone's favorite insect, mosquitoes. Everyone loves mosquitoes, right?
No, man, they really suck.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do, actually.
Oh boy. Well, we're going to talk about mosquitoes, and everyone loves mosquitoes. Obviously, by you guys' reaction, just jumping for joy.
Yes. Bring them on.
Here we go. So basically, in a town in Africa, a village in Africa, they are purposely letting mosquitoes in.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's like, wait, but isn't there like, malaria, and isn't there like, disease, and why would you want more mosquitoes?
This is where it gets a lot more safe. Go ahead, Kyle.
Go ahead.
This is where the zombies come in and outbreaks. Basically, the mosquitoes they're letting in are genetically modified. They're not doing it just yet right now. Mm-hmm. They're still in the testing phase, but the mosquitoes they'll let out, I believe, will either eradicate the mosquito population there, which is, they studied this, so if that mosquito population dies, it's okay. There's other bugs that'll take its place that aren't like pathogen spreaders like them.
So what are we going to do without our mosquitoes?
No. They'll be replaced with a newer, altered mosquito.
Yeah,
altered mosquito.
It's either these
Yes.
mosquitoes will be genetically modified so they are harder to spread malaria, so it's harder to spread diseases, or they'll just basically slowly die off in that area. And I believe there's 1,000 to 3,000 species of just mosquitoes alone, so that's just like one species in a tiny part of Africa. So
Nice.
It makes it sound like, why can't we just, reprogram those marbled morelettes? We can do some DNA slicing and some DNA stuff like that.
Oh, boy.
We'll fix that problem.
So wait. So let's say there's like 1,000 mosquitoes, like 1,024 mosquitoes, right?
Yeah.
Species of mosquitoes, and so that's just like one, right? One
1/1000th of a mosquito. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna break the DNA. So how much mosquito does one of these altered?
Oh no, I'm
mosquitoes
just
have?
talking about if there's 1,000 species of mosquitoes and that's just one of them, right? So that's
Right.
eradicating all of them, right? If that's just one species out of 1,000, is
If
that?
it's just 1 out of 1,000, that's pretty much all of them, I would say. Yeah.
I guess I'm just using Elizabeth Warren's logic here.
Yes.
Which is okay. Okay, you have to put this meme up here.
I've been waiting.
Oh, I thought he already put it up.
I
there.
just bought a new Jeep. I named it Elizabeth Warren because it's all white, but it says it's a Cherokee. That that is pretty funny.
What's funny? It's even funnier. It's not. I don't know if it's funny or not. Is looking at some comments this morning. You can see some comments online. Is like, why are you guys making such a big deal about this? Why is everybody making? Well, number one, she's a U.S. senator and she lied. Okay, that's number one. And number two, she took somebody else. She took something that was set aside for somebody else and got it for herself because of her lie. So, because she's not, the university listed her as a person of color. Well, now that person, the first person that was really that person, got bumped out of the way because of her. So she also, it's just crazy. I mean, this lady lied. She lied for personal gain and political gain, and nobody seems to understand what the big deal is. Mm-hmm. And then you have people like, well, none of you guys are DNA experts. Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that her test came back that she's 99% white.
Actually, it's even more than 99%.
Listen, I'm just saying, okay?
Yeah, I know. It is quite funny when public people take a situation like that and then try to make a point with it, and you're way on the losing end of the argument.
The Democrats sound like Nazi Germany people. They're now checking for purity.
Uh-oh.
I mean, come on, you guys.
Uh-oh.
It's true. They want to see your DNA now to make sure that, come on. This is ridiculous. She needs to step down as a senator. She's turned this into a joke.
I mean, it could be worse, She could think that Guam's going to capsize.
Yeah, there was that.
But anyway, that's why it's a big deal. Is you guys want to make this big deal about how you guys think Brett Kavanaugh lied about his drinking when he was 17. This lady, when she was an adult, defrauded an entire university and then turned around with that same fraud and defrauded the entire nation with it. This lady, come on, you guys. What's the big deal? I mean, come on. Anyway, all right, Kyle, next story.
Well, it's Fun Friday, but this story's not so fun.
That was fun for me.
Yeah, that was fun. But this story next is not so fun. So if you don't know, this kid, his name is Andre. He passed away a week or so ago, and this kid was amazing at yo-yoing. I'm not even kidding. Like, this kid was top tier. He was basically a wizard, and he was 13 years old.
Dog.
Yeah. Yeah, he was so good. 6 months ago, he got diagnosed with leukemia, and his younger brother or older brother was basically the only person that could donate bone marrow. But because of the complications with that, eventually things just kind of started shutting down, and he passed away. But the cool thing about Andre is his mom reached out to Evan Nagao, who just then Evan Nagao won the world championship for yo-yoing for 1A division. So just like one yo-yo instead of like 2 or 3, or there's only 2. But Evan Nagao just won, and he's actually going basically. He's flying into the city that they were at, which was just like perfect timing. So he's like, yeah, sure, I'll stop by. So he stopped by, and he's like, okay, obviously this kid's probably not gonna be the greatest at yo-yos. He's probably just gonna be like, ooh. But he gets there, and this kid he just goes ham. Like, it's just crazy. I'll find a video and I'll show it later.
Ham.
He just goes ham. It's crazy.
Did you get that, Chris?
I can't keep up with the new terminology these days, Kevin.
He just goes ham.
He just goes ham.
It's hard to keep up. They change the meaning of the words all the time.
I just had to look up ham. So ham is the meat from the upper part of a pig's leg. It's salted, dried, or smoked. The backs of the thighs are buttocks. So
this definitely makes sense.
So could we substitute another word in there, Kyle? That he just went butt.
Well.
Or he just went smoke.
He went
ham hock. He went totally ham hock on us.
He was really good. Well, here's the link to the GoFundMe page for his funeral. People have been donating it. Like, there's people that have donated $400.
Very nice.
Even Evan Nagao donated $300. It's yeah. Andre has also been. He's been very well. Before he passed, he's very. He posted a lot on Reddit. He's very active on Reddit, and he's just constantly putting videos out there of him like learning tricks and doing tutorials on Reddit, and people just loved him on Reddit. So this really hit the yo-yo community pretty hard. You
know what? Go back up to his picture, and I want to point something out here. He's laying in a hospital bed. That's very obvious. You see that big smile and the thumbs up on his face?
That's the first thing I saw when I saw it.
Holy cow. Now, is that like totally spot on, point on with what Ellen Palestrant was just talking about moments ago?
You see the yo-yos in the back, the pink yo-yo and everything?
Yeah.
He would constantly yo-yo when he was awake and all that. He would constantly yo-yo.
He'd what?
He'd constantly throw.
Yo.
Yo-yo. Whenever he's awake, he'd practically constantly yo-yo, and he actually...
But did he do it with ham?
I think we're gonna have to have a new rule on code words when we. I don't know any of these words you're using, man.
He would constantly throw, which is basically what people in the yo-yo world calls it, because I guess saying yo-yo over and over again is not so fun.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you are a yo-yoer.
Yes, I do enjoy it. But yeah, he would constantly throw for the kids around the hospital, and he did do some competitions as well. This year he's actually going to compete again, and I was really excited to see how he's going to place, but sadly he passed.
I remember when yo-yos became huge when I was in high school. I mean, everybody was walking around with one of those things, and people were getting smacked in the face walking down the halls and stuff like that. People doing their tricks. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, Evan Nagao. Yeah. The cool thing about the yo-yo community, though, is that a lot of people, they're just very kind. They're super kind. It's just very welcoming. And Evan Nagao actually, after meeting Andre, continued to keep in touch with them and hung out with them every once in a while whenever he came by. So it wasn't just like a one and done. It was more like, yeah, man, this is a friendship. Yeah. So... It's pretty great.
Well, for people who want to know, Kyle's use of the word ham, it actually is in the Urban Dictionary. But I am not at all going to read what it says.
Yeah.
It is an acronym.
You have to be very
Check
careful
this out.
when you reference. Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's not going to be said.
But now, technically, he could actually still use that acronym, Kevin, because he could be yo-yoing really hard.
It's very difficult.
Trust me, if you were reading what we're reading, you would be laughing.
Yeah.
No, be careful when you go to the Urban Dictionary because there are many different definitions for words. Like, okay, now to give you an example, okay, don't laugh because I actually did this. You know, at the same day that they had the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, you know, where he was testifying about all these things that he had written in his calendar.
His calendar, yeah.
I went into the Urban Dictionary and I looked it up. And you know, sure, you know, according to the Urban Dictionary, you know, those things that are written in his calendar do have other meaning. But now let's talk about the Urban Dictionary. The Urban Dictionary is rather a new thing. It wasn't around back in 1986 when Brett Kavanaugh was writing all these things on his thing. So again,
and the meanings of these things are actually contributed by a lot of random people.
Right. And this site is there's like many different meanings posted for similar words. And I have a friend that consults this page, this site once a year. He randomly selects a word from that, and on your birthday he posts, "Happy birthday, go get yourself a German taco." And so you have to go look that up, and you know.
Well, just to give an example of
wow.
Yeah, so to give you an example of the reliability of the Urban Dictionary.
It's much like Snopes, you know.
Yeah,
just a bunch of garbage.
So anyway, the acronym that Chris and I were reading for ham, that was contributed by Sea Dog on January 11th, 2011. And then there's another definition of ham. Well, this was contributed by Dimples UK on July 4, 2010.
No, don't leave out the fact that the nice thing about this is that you can actually go and vote on which meaning you think it means the most. See the up and down things? You can actually vote whether you agree with that definition or not.
And then another guy to use the word ham in a sentence. This was LW2 contributed on February 11, 2010. He says, "That dude be going straight ham on them fools." No.
I yo-yoed too. I mean, we aren't making fun of you. We're just making fun of some of the terms.
"I'm about to go get ham on these boys," he says.
Okay, so this is the video that I was speaking of, and this is when Evan Nagel met Andre. So
all right, let's play it.
Cool now, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So we just wanted to come and like surprise you.
He was given platelets, and usually he will get like Tylenol and some other drugs that will make him fall asleep. I'm like, no, he could not fall asleep.
Not today.
6 months a day.
So we just got back from like the national yoga contest. It was so fun.
Oh, he was watching you.
You're watching?
Yeah, it was really good. And
You want to throw a little bit?
yeah.
Let me see what you've been working on. Holy! Oh wow! Jeez. Okay, yeah, you're like really good. Dang.
Well, it helped that we are here for 2 months. And
Yeah, got a lot of time on his hands.
Yeah, I am so glad he has this passion. Some of the kids, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Oh man.
How about his signature?
This is so cool.
Yeah. Dude, this is sweet, man. I'm stoked too. This is super cool.
Do you usually
So
have experience meeting?
that right there, isn't he's so good? And just like that, they're just hanging out, yo-yoing, and just talking and everything. So this is how he met Andre, and Andre is really good. He's even doing some
Trying to make sense of his shirt. You have any clue what it means?
Obey.
Obey who?
It's Obey is a clothing brand. I think it might be like a gaming brand as well.
Okay, all right.
But
I like his pillow. I really like his pillow.
Yeah, Evan Nagao was basically his hero. Like Evan Nagao was the guy he looked up to, and he's even actually Evan Nagao taught him some of his signature tricks. And yeah,
You know, what's cool is when people like this that have established some notoriety, and you have a young kid like Andre who looked up to him as a hero and as a role model, and he comes to pay him a visit. It's just very cool. Love to see that happen.
They were so close that Andre's mom told Evan Nagao first of everybody, and wanted Evan Nagao to tell people, and Evan Nagao had to take some time just to process everything, and eventually made a YouTube video about it, and yeah.
Well, that was pretty ham right there, man. we're making a sham out of ham here today.
But it works. I mean, it works. I mean,
yeah.
it works for the situation. Believe it or not. I mean,
Yeah.
Just look at him go.
All right.
So yeah, there's that.
All right, guys. Roundtable Friday. So you know what? We want to add more of a comedic comment in the Roundtable Friday, and we really appreciate you guys jumping on and either making suggestions or participating in the show, because it's quite awesome. You know, these stories can go, as Ellen Palestrant said, they can go so many different ways. Just find a home for them. Because, like, yeah.
Oh, I was looking at some of the stuff on the screen. It's just like Kyle's starting to sparkle.
Kyle is starting to spark. Hey, let's talk about the Washington Supreme Court rule sentencing youth to life without parole is
this
unconstitutional.
broke yesterday. Apparently, it is cruel and inhumane treatment and goes against the Washington State Constitution to sentence a youth to life without to life. And reading some of this thing, there's going to be some. If I want to learn more about it, I'm going to have to read more about it, because apparently the case that was involved with this, the kid was a juvenile, and he killed 3 people, premeditated, and all, just all this other stuff. But basically 5-4 decision ruled that you can't stick him in jail. I mean, you can, if you're a minor now, you can go out and kill 5 or 6 people, and guess what? Eventually you'll get out of jail.
You can't stick them in jail. You can't put them in there for life.
You can't put them in there for life. Correct. They have to be able to get parole. So it's very interesting. I mean, when you talk about murder cases, maybe they should be a little bit different, but apparently not. Apparently they just can't. So the trick around this then is to just stop charging these guys as minors and start charging them as adults. And, it might make their numbers go down on the kids, which is what they're really looking for here. But again, then you're just going to start having prosecutors charge them, every 17-year-old, and then they're going to lose that break that they may have gotten as a minor.
I actually have a pretty good idea. Why not? We just stop charging people altogether, abolish the prison system, and just let everyone run wild.
There's just too much money in it, Kyle.
I mean,
it's the truth. I mean,
there are a lot of victimless criminals sitting in our
and that's what we need to stop, is the victimless crime stuff. Now, remember that community court thing that we were talking about a few months ago?
Yeah.
They went ahead and approved that. Dennis Weber and Joe Gardner decided to waste a whole bunch more money and do that program. So Tuesday morning.
So explain the program.
I can't remember exactly. We talked about it on our program, if you remember correctly, but it was basically another therapeutic court to add, as Joe Gardner would put it, another tool in the toolbox. So basically, we just added a third
tool,
a fourth. You guys
Urban Dictionary.
That's not how I meant that.
There's another tool.
But anyway, so now there's a new therapeutic court out, and it's called whatever it is I just said, community court. So look it up, you guys. I think $26,000 of our money went to it, and then the BHO was going to put in like 70 or 80 grand. So anyway, That happened.
On Tuesday.
Yeah. So it kind of ties into this, I mean, this we give minors a chance. When you're a minor, you're treated differently on a crime, unless your name's Brett Kavanaugh. Then you get no help at all, or no anything.
So if you go on Urban Dictionary and look up the word tool, the
throw it on the screen back here so our audience can.
I said a tool in a workshop. That's because that's what Joe Gardner said at the commissioner's
definition.
workshop.
So a guy with a hugely overinflated ego who, in an attempt to get undue attention for himself.
Boy, Kanye's sure taking a beating, isn't he, guys?
But of course, when they're talking about Kanye, they mean like when he went on to like the Grammys or some music award, and he's like, "Hey, they don't deserve this award.
You guys
deserves it."
You guys saw that meme, that was going around, that the mainstream media and the Democrats in 24 hours have called him just about every racist name out there in the book, and then expect us to believe that the Republicans are the racists.
Let's read this first paragraph. This actually, when you think about it, you will always know somebody like this. But we might mutually know a few people like this. It says somebody who will, to get undue attention for themselves, will act like a jackass because in their deluded state, they think it's going to make him look cool or make others want to be like him. The person may even insincerely apologize later on, but only in the attempt to get more attention or to excuse his blatantly intentional and unrepentantly toolish behavior.
I'm pretty sure we know a few guys that fit this.
I've seen some demonstrations just like this in the public.
That's funny.
And somebody whose ego far exceeds their talent, intelligence, and likability, but of course is clueless regarding that fact. He erroneously thinks he's the man.
I'm the man.
I'm the man.
I'm the man.
No, Anthrax clearly was the man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or schmuck.
And someone who others refer to as a prick, dick, or schmuck. Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is where I see they have Kanye West down there as one of the definitions. So where Kanye West did earn his reputation as being this schmuck was his maneuver on the stage with Taylor Swift and Beyonce. And a lot of people viewed that as being very inappropriate and whatnot. And he's had some interesting things over the years. However, you know what? All the politics aside, if you listen to what Kanye West shared when he was sitting across the desk from President Trump, does anybody in their right mind not agree wholeheartedly with what he had to say with regard to what's going on in Chicago and what could be done about it and the need to bring jobs back there? And actually getting somebody to, for once, address the problems going on in Chicago and in our inner city. He made a ton of valid points there. So people can point to, well, we think he's unstable or he's this or he's that or whatever. But if he was talking about something else, we'd be having a different conversation, I think.
Kevin, I actually don't agree with Kanye on the whole thing. Just because he's talking to Donald Trump, so obviously I oppose it.
So obviously,
I have a couple
I
things.
oppose it.
One, I would like to congratulate everybody on their newly rate increased garbage bills that they're getting. That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations to everybody. You guys are all getting higher waste bills.
Hey, and if you're paying more money for it, it must be better garbage, right? Because isn't everything higher price bracket?
Also,
it's just going up in quality,
better coverage, and recyclables on the go.
Yeah.
So basically, they raised our rates. Happening. They raised everybody's rates. In this per city, and then on top of that, they sent out this notice that as of November 1st. Please note the removal of all plastic containers beginning November 1st, 2018 at the Kelso recycling stations. So if I understand that correctly, you can't take your plastic containers to the recycling place. So they lowered services and jacked the price. Way to go, Waste Control. We're so glad you guys are looking out for us.
But there's all these people from mayors to council people to commissioners to when I say commissioners, I'm sorry, commissioner. There's all these people saying that, hey, if the county does a public-private partnership with somebody who currently isn't even involved, that, the prices are going to go up. Guess what, people? Conversation hasn't even started yet, and, hey, the prices went up.
Mm-hmm.
Did we get the cart ahead of the horse here? Or
Yeah, I mean, again, Waste Control has raised their prices every year, pretty much on average. So again,
now I'm unclear on this. I would love to have somebody share with what is clear, but I understand that is it true that rates have gone up 4 of the last 5 years?
We did that number on here, and it was on the average. They raised the prices every year. On the average,
4 out of 5 is pretty.
Is this like twice this year?
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sure it's Waste Control is going to blame Republic or Arn Mortensen. I'm sure that's the main cause.
Have you seen? Oh, okay.
Also, the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is that tonight we will not be invaded. However, you may think so if you live in Kelso or by the high school, because the KGW helicopter will be flying around tonight quite a bit, because you guys made it possible to make us the game of the week. So tonight, the KGW helicopter will be flying around Kelso High Stadium. So
looking for a cougar?
Well, they could be hunting cougars, and
maybe
they could be looking for Highlanders. I mean, we'll never know.
Okay, can we just so back to the whole garbage thing. So this is what it kind of reminds me of.
It really does. Well, again, everybody knows that Waste Control is going to be selling, and so they want to ding us for as much money as they possibly can before they get out of the business. And so, I understand that, and that's the way business goes, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the man on the bike is Waste Control. They stick the stick in front of the thing, they fall over, and they're like, this is because Republic Services did that.
You have to go down further because that's not on the screen here. People need to see the bottom of that. There you go. Capitalism made me wreck my bike. Yeah.
Did you guys happen to see the story that ran last night about the teen magazine that is putting out articles now that's against capitalism? They're already starting to try to indoctor our youth.
Wait, did they?
That capitalism is bad.
You guys, if
we don't, what?
You guys just found out? This has been going on for forever. Vice, Teen Vogue. I mean,
well, Kyle, I'm 45, and I don't think you'll see me pick up a child's, teen magazine very often, unless I'm editing it first. By the way, I was at my kid's braces place the other day. We took him in.
Orthodontist.
Orthodontist. He was getting his thing, and a lady came in with, I think it was 3 girls and 1 boy, the opposite of what I have. I really felt for her, but she, you know what, you guys, this lady was a really good mom. Her every magazine that her oldest daughter picked up. Now, I'm playing a game, I'm trying to ignore what's going on around me, but you can't. Anyway, she made sure of what magazine her child was reading. Every time she picked up a magazine, she looked at that thing first to make sure it was not something that she didn't want her kid reading. And I thought that was
well done.
I thought that was very impressive as a parent, and it was a pretty cool thing to see.
Well, just talking about the whole shebang again. It's actually worse than you guys think. So basically, Snapchat, everyone knows what Snapchat is, right? Well, they have a nice little function that if you swipe to the right, you have like a bunch of like magazine stuff that are online. So like, you can subscribe to them. Well, practically on Snapchat, every single one is basically against capitalism. Like all the big magazines there, all the teen ones, all the millennial ones are basically against capitalism. And I read somewhere they're like... Okay, I'm not talking about that. Either way, they talk about a lot of things that kids shouldn't really know. And I learned a lot of things about it that I really wish I didn't know. But that's on Snapchat, and it's so easy to get to. So it's right there.
Somebody said something last night in an interview, and I'll tell you who said it here in a minute. But there's two guys last night in an interview, one interviewing the other, and they're talking about the future of America and how it's changing and what it's going to look like in a few years. And this gentleman, it was absolutely correct, and his name is Rush Limbaugh. And if we don't vote and we don't fight for the way America has been in the past, the way we know it, in this election, we will start to see the downfall of our nation, and it will turn into another failed liberal social, Nazi-like experiment that failed. I mean, I'm already, you guys, I would never thought that I would see things happening in our nation that happened in Germany, Nazi Germany, and I'm seeing it. And what's scaring me is it's coming from the Democrats, not the Republicans. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats are out there screaming and pointing their fingers at the Republicans, calling them the Nazis and the racists and the haters. That was the policy of the people in Nazi Germany. Mm-hmm. So again, the Democrats are the ones that are showing these signs of this danger, and something's going to have to happen. We're real close to some kind of conflict, I believe, and it's not going to be pretty, because you have this small population of the world. Like I said, we're like a 70-30. We're 70% conservative, 30%. They're losing, mm-hmm. and all their numbers show they're losing, but they're using the media to come out and say that they're winning. It's like it's like that last gasp of air right before you aren't going to take another one, and that is kind of what we're seeing.
So if you look up Wikipedia, it describes anti-capitalism as a political movement. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then here's some of the interesting things that are associated with this political movement known as anti-capitalism. One is fascism. Mm-hmm. Another is socialism. Mm-hmm. And other is anarchy. Then you go down a little farther, there's Marxism. There's the barter system.
I would like to see more of the barter system.
How about wage slavery? This is another one that's in here.
That's happening all over in the U.S., according to some people.
The barter system, though, that was actually very good.
Yeah, I think it should be incorporated into our system now. I think it's a great system. I have 3 apples and you have 2 oranges, but you want an apple. We could do that deal.
How many of your oranges? The 2 you got.
No, it's going to be 1 for 1. Everybody has to negotiate their own deal.
You want scurvy? Because that's how you get scurvy.
I know.
Give me 2 apples for 1 orange. Anyways, so back on Device and Snapchat. Let me read what they have today. This article is about why I made blood sausage with my own blood. So this lady is making blood sausage out of her own blood. And then it just goes on why she's doing it, because I guess it has the same nutrients that exactly like a real
scab.
Yeah. Anyways, it goes next about what supplies she ordered and how easy it was. It took me 5 minutes to find a website where I could order the medical supplies I might need. I scrolled through a list of scalpels, cast saws, and surgical gowns. The next day, everything got delivered to my door, and I was happy as a kid on Christmas morning, unpacking my 600 needles and blood bags. Suddenly, my living room looked like an operating room. I watched a few YouTube videos and logged into a dating site for advice. Since a few of my matches claimed to be doctors,
I logged into a dating site for advice. Oh, that is priceless.
Then I punctured the skin at my inner elbow with a good-sized needle connected to a blood bag. So she's drawing her own blood in a blood bag, and she's saying how easy it is. And kids, like, how young are kids? How old are kids right now when they first get Snapchat? Like, I'm seeing like 6th graders who get Snapchat, and even younger who get Snapchat, and this is right at their fingertips. They learn how to make blood sausage.
This is almost as good as the college student that made yogurt from her own private area.
Don't even get into that.
You remember that, though? You read that article, right? Yeah, you saw that story.
Quite disgusting.
Yes, yeah, I mean, that's almost as disgusting. I mean, come on.
This is actually the most mundane thing that Vice usually posts. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some pretty disgusting things.
Oh,
there's been a lot of young females that I've been aware of who have reported. This has actually showed up in the news a few times, and I've heard about it from other circles as well. But people using Snapchat
He's reading something called Viagra Vape over there.
Yeah. There's this, the FDA busted a Chinese brand called Hello Sig Electric Technology Co. for putting erectile dysfunction meds in vape juice. So it's like, hey, I need Viagra. I'm ready.
Oh my gosh.
Viagra vape juice coming to theaters near you.
So these websites you say are targeting kids? Kyle?
No, they're not targeting kids because they're literally on sites where kids can easily get to. I guess they do kind of appeal to the younger generation. But I mean, like, I'm so glad I know about Viagra vape
Well,
now.
I always wanted to know how to make my own blood sausage with my own blood. I mean, that was one of the top things on my bucket list. And now
I just can imagine it was.
totally work with this gal to get that off. And now that I know that she's on a dating site, I can just go find her anywhere, right? Because that's where I get all of my advice from.
All of
Online
the
dating.
advice from a dating site. Yes.
Yeah. And it's
Because
also
people like
anti-trauma.
never use fake profile pictures or fake information. I mean, everything on a dating site. I mean, that is like the Snopes.
Oh, they're also trumpeting the apocalypse. So basically, that's the title of it, right? Then they go into details about how Trump isn't really worried about the climate catastrophe. They're not really worried. He's not really worried about it. So basically, they're making Donald Trump look bad for.
I don't know how I missed this story, you guys. The man size label on the Kleenex that's been on Kleenex, that has been on there for 60 years, is going away. So they're going to take the man size label that they've had for 60 years off their Kleenex wrappers because it's sexism.
So could you mansplain to everybody why they're taking the man size off of the Kleenex box?
Because it's sexism.
I don't need you to mansplain. To
Extra large. I mean, this is where we're going. We're taking man size off something we blow our nose on because it's sexist. Don't you think that? I mean, come on, things are really starting to get out of hand. I mean, that's real. I mean, that's a real thing. This is on King 5 News.
Okay.
So, you guys, this is just getting. I mean, you guys are getting just dumb. Really, we're gonna take man size off Kleenex.
So, Don Torgerson commented, "The latest head scratcher for me is the group of protesters that were deeply offended by the term Indian summer."
I'll tell you what. Yeah, there's some fragile people out there. Oh my gosh.
Can you not say that? It kind of hurts me.
That kind of hurts you?
Yeah.
To say fragile people.
Your safe space is out there, not here. When we step into here, there's no safe space.
There's no safe
Please.
space.
Please.
It's gone.
Anxiety.
I tell you.
This is America.
So do you know where the word Indian summer comes from?
No.
I'm probably from North
No.
America.
It says, although the exact origins of the term are uncertain, it was perhaps so called because it was first noted in regions inhabited by Native Americans or Indians because the Native Americans first described it to the Europeans, or it had been based on the warm and hazy conditions in autumn when Native Americans hunted.
If you're
notice
watching,
you said hazy. That must have been from all the forest fires because they weren't properly managing their forest lands.
Yeah,
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they were just all that.
if you're watching right now and you're baffled by something going on right now, put it in the comments and we'll address it because I really want to know more.
It's Friday. You're going to be baffled. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
This is
Yeah.
America.
One of the stories that I liked years ago was actually a joke, but funny. When people were talking about the names of sports teams, so Don brings up Indian Summer. People were offended by Washington Redskins. Well, then they started picking on the other team, saying Washington Bullets. Well, that name constitutes violence, and so they decided, well, maybe we should change our name, and so that would constitute a lower level of violence, and so they removed the name Washington from their name and just went with the Bullets to accomplish a lower level of Violence.
Don't say Washington around me.
Yeah,
Oh,
don't
no.
say Washington around me.
Oh, you know what? What was I reading? I was just reading something about Snopes. During the show, I was reading. Yes, I do that because I'm always monitoring for stuff that comes out. But it came out this morning that the guy that created Snopes lives in Tacoma. And the comments on that one are off the charts. It's like, oh, well, that explains everything.
You know, Indian summer is apparently caused by daytime hours. Well, the air has a low relative humidity in the fall. The trees have their autumn foliage. And the combination of all of that creates a, it says let's see. An Indian summer period occurs when a cool, shallow polar air mass stagnates and becomes a deep, warm, high-pressure center. Happens a lot in the fall. I actually always looked forward to it. The term Indian summer was always a really favorite of mine for many, many years because living back in the Midwest, where it gets nasty cold in the wintertime, you'd head into the fall and encounter some of these snowstorms and things like that, and everybody go, when is Indian summer coming?
Listen, Donald T wants you to stop using the word. He says you're going to get sued, okay? You just have to stop.
Uh-oh.
We're going to have to come up for a different term other than Indian summer, apparently. I guess it'll have to be, we better change. You know what? Maybe we should kick that off. We should let's change it to Native American summer. Somebody's got to do it, right? I mean, it's really completely offensive, apparently, to 3 or 4 people out there in the nation. So we have to change it.
How long does Native American summer last?
I generally think they go.
It's about the whole time of the year that it encompasses is about 1/1000th of the annual calendar.
There we go. Okay.
Did you guys see the check that Trump was holding up in his fingertips? I posted.
Yeah.
You can see the look on his face. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble for this. I just know it." You can see it on his face, but he still holds it up.
So that was 100% real?
Well, I don't know. I don't care at this point. I think it was pretty funny though. Yeah, I'm looking. If you look at the picture and you look at his face, I think there's probably a high probability it could be real because the look on his face was like, oh, I don't know if I should be holding this.
No.
Okay. All right, Kyle, what's the story? Shopping at Whitco used to be fun until they stopped carrying my food.
It's the one I'm thinking of, then. Uh-oh. But here we go. It's Fun Friday, right?
What's the food?
Let's see if I can remember it, right? I really hope it's that story, so if it's not, then
there's
Dad,
another
please
story.
stop me. Basically, my dad, goes to Winco, and he's like looking at all the signs, He's like,
What I want to know, does he ever walk around Winco with his shorts pulled way up high and walking around like, yeah?
No, only at home. But basically, he's looking at all these signs, and a coworker walks by, and he's like, I have a question. And they're like, okay. So he's like, okay, so they have, like Oriental food here, and they have like Native American food here, and they have like the Chinese food here. But what I want to know? What? Where's the white food? The person was like, everywhere else. So I hope that's it. If not, then we'll just edit that out of a live show.
There you go.
Well, there it is. Uh-oh.
All right, well, guys, we have places to go and things to do. We're going to run here on Northwest Digital News. Thanks for joining us. A special thanks to Ellen Palestrant, who joined us in the beginning of the broadcast. Always entertaining, always creative. She'll be back sometime down the road. Well, that's going to be a wrap here on Northwest Digital News. Thanks to everybody who joined us on Patreon and Twitch TV, YouTube, and Facebook. We'll see you on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Kevin Hunter, Chris Bornstead, Kyle Torgerson. Until next time.